Okay, so it was really hard for me to find the right questions for you because I'm sure you've been asked everything, but I'll try my best. So
Okay.
first question is, I want you to share a memorable failure. It can be serious or funny. Your call.
Uh, for a failure to be memorable enough for the amount of years I've worked in this thing, it has to be monumental enough as well. And honestly, our attempt is to avoid monumental failures. That in a wedding, you don't get to commit those mistakes. But I feel every time I have not scored that 10 on 10 from the family's perspective, that's that micro dose of failure. And I'll qualify it with an example. Okay. So you as an artist come with a certain perspective when you're entering into an event. And maybe you like shooting certain way and maybe you have this certain vision. Uh, there are times when you don't take that reality check as to what the other side wants. Do they want to look at your art portfolio or do they want certain images that you may not consider artistic? And we walk that fine line in between, right? But sometimes if we are towards our side of the line and we take a feedback and they say, hey, you know what, great images, but where are these? Or what happened to those simpler moments? That's that micro dose of failure.
Hmm.
And I have an elephant's memory on that. I take that to my heart and I make sure that we learn more from it in the next iteration. So yeah, I can't remember a single big monumental failure. I mean that's not allowed in our business. We are a one take business, pun intended. You don't get a second take.
Okay.
And hardly any repeat customers.
Oh, thank God for that in a way, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's fair enough. That was a very different answer I received from other people, so it's refreshing. Mm, you shot the Ambani wedding, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you have any creative breakthrough while you were doing the shoot?
Yes, there were deer in the headlight moments where we found ourselves in this realm which we hadn't imagined will actually turn out to be even better than what the planning phase of it was from the Reliance team. Um, and I have to give full credits to Neeta Babi for being, I mean, it's being a visionary and executing that vision. She walks the walk and she's actually committed. It's not like she just keeps delegating. She's actually committed to follow through. So for us as well, it was in some sense uh, larger than life, uh, you know, sort of ethereal environment to be in. Um, and there were times where we would freeze in our steps, right? There were times when we'd enter, say, the dining area and we'd realize, wow, like we have to shoot this. Like, how do we do justice? And it used to take us about 10-15 seconds to snap back to reality, come up with a plan and execute it. Most things were planned, by the way.
Yeah.
So we reduced the shock factor for us before going into the assignment. Things like there was zero movement of photographers during 2 hours of fairas. Zero. Actually, there was zero movement of any people during 2 hours of fairas. So imagine, try and remember one wedding you've attended in your life where not a single guest, not a single vendor moved an inch for 2 hours straight through the fairas. And things like those need to be planned. They
Mhm.
can't just happen. You can't obviously announce things
Yeah.
like that, the fair is going on or the vidhi is going on. So there were those moments, but there were, of course, we were prepared for some and we sort of stepped into some as quickly as we could.
Okay. That's very interesting. You were not supposed to move. Okay, that's challenging. Um, now, is there a project that you think will be bigger than this wedding? Is there something you anticipate, or you think there can never be anything bigger than this wedding?
So big in our world, right? It's like your resume, right? So if a photography company has to make their resume, they would probably put in the awards that they've won. They'll name the top clients that they've worked with. And that resume for us um, is at a comfortable space, right? We did the Adani wedding recently,
Okay.
Ajit Adani's,
Okay.
Ambani's, and Sonam Kapoor. So that resume gets filled up.
Hmm.
So the next big project, it's very difficult for it to creep into that resume, right? Like, which one do I substitute? I can only use limited words or limited logos in my resume, right?
Hmm.
By
Yeah.
the way, we have a company profile. It's a real problem that we have that there are multiple public listed companies who we want to name as our clients, but there is no space to put their logo because there's someone else that's taken the priority. So
Okay.
big, yeah, I mean, Aditya Birla, McDonald's, Rosie Blue, Kiran James, you name it, right? Like
Mhm.
we've done those. So after a point, that that shock value of, oh, this is so big and oh, there's so many people. I mean, we just did a wedding in February with an attendance of 50,000 people, and we
Oh.
were not shocked because the biggest one that we did before this was 30,000 people. So
Hmm.
something that will shock us now is a few lakhs.
All right.
And
Yeah.
and I think that definition of big has the yardstick has changed, right? We know that weddings in India can get crazy. We know
Yes.
that it can be an IFA show all of a sudden. We did a wedding in January which had more artists. We actually counted, which had more artists than the this year's IFA awards,
Oh
the
my.
last edition of IFA Awards. Actually, more artists, right? And everybody got like a Shankar Mahadevan is getting a 15 minute. There's a next guy waiting. So big changes yardstick. Memorable would be a very interesting sort of take, right? Like what's memorable? Does a big wedding make for a memorable wedding for us?
Hmm.
Or does something else makes it memorable for us? And that's a tricky answer. I don't know. It's all over the place.
Have you done destination weddings?
Yeah, we've shot in 32 countries so far.
So, what is there like a common theme that you can talk about while shooting in India versus shooting overseas? Something that is better overseas versus India?
Well, you have your guests at one place that tend to divert less. In India, if you're having a metro city wedding, people will come in and go out at their own timing and can get crowded. Destination wedding in India, I feel the infrastructure is still yet to catch up because in a Rajasthan, there aren't many hotels which can provide you, say, 500 rooms
Mhm.
or 300 rooms for that matter. So the infrastructure in India on the destination side really needs to pick up. In a foreign location, even like Bali, you'll
Mhm.
find hotels 300, 400, 500 room. Turkey has hotels with like 1,000 rooms, an
Mhm.
ample. So I think infrastructure is one of the major challenges with Indian destinations. Second is the price to return ratio, I guess you can call it return. Because in India, 300, 400 person wedding in Udaipur will cost you $1 million.
Mhm.
And it would be very similar, if not slightly less, in Turkey.
Okay.
But imagine if you're talking about a place that's 5 hours away, doesn't speak our language, doesn't know
Yeah.
who we are, and they're charging us, and the hotel is swanky, it's new.
Yeah.
They're managing with your own challenges. The airport is not the best, and then you've got to go through the city. So, as a guest, I feel your experience quotient is better in some of these foreign locations, but the price that you're paying in India is just off the roof. So the parity is matched there.
Mhm. Okay. This question is more as a personal question, not I don't want to think about it as a team. So what are the top three non-negotiables for you as you are a creative person? So when you're working on a project.
One that we should not be hired because unfortunately we have some name attached to the company. We should be hired on our merit. So there are times when not there are times every couple that hires us our services, I make it a point to ask them, have you seen our work? don't take us on our face value. Go through it. When you
Yeah.
when you understand who we are and still you like us, then you will end up loving us.
Okay.
It's a non-negotiable that don't hire us without knowing us.
Mm.
The second non-negotiable for me is the respect. I think after your event planners, photographers are the vendors who put the most amount of time in your wedding. When you add the pre, the
Mm.
shoot, and production, we
Mhm.
are the second most time devoting vendors to any wedding. So being respectful is very, very important. Um, we've come a long way from when I started 10 years ago. I think we've come a long way from 20 years ago, where a photographer would be asked to travel in a train,
Yeah.
to slowly in a flight, and now to slowly being in the same venue, staying in the same hotel where the rest of the guests are, so that he can actually do his job well. So respect in any form is highly appreciated, and disrespect of any form is not tolerable. This just as a personal thingy. Uh, I don't have a third list. Honestly, if you an artist's stomach is really full if you give him respect, and if you give him respect in terms of him as a person, and you respect his art.
Mhm.
That's all the artist needs, right? I don't think so. He goes looks beyond that.
So,
There's
how about gadgets? Are there any gadgets like do you think, okay, I can work without this, but I need certain standard of gadgets or
I'm waiting for the day I can work without a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, and I think that day is not far. I think I would love to be a professional phone wedding photographer. I'll call it that. So the the thing is, the phones have come a long way. Okay, they are great. What is missing in most people is the knowledge of how to take picture with a good camera. Phone is a good camera. So gadget is a now is actually a means to an end kind of a situation. It's not the end. I don't think about gadgets. I can't remember the last time I was worried that I don't have this particular camera or lens.
oh, okay. So, yeah, because maybe it's because you have reached that stage of you can maybe close your eyes and use any camera to do the best work.
Yeah, yeah, you do that. I mean, same sometimes, if a guest is getting his pictures clicked from his phone, right? And we just offer up that, hey, why don't why doesn't the third person go in and I'll click the three of you together. And when they see our picture, the three of you together versus the previous one of the one he took, they're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, now we get it. You don't
Yeah.
have a great camera. You are a
Yes.
good photographer, not the camera that's making the difference. So,
So on that answer, I have a follow-up question. Photography is so competitive, right? You mentioned that someone should choose you or your company because of what you or the value you bring in.
yeah.
So how do you ensure that your work stands out while you are being true to your vision?
So I think I sort of partly answered in one of the pointers of the previous question, that hire us for
Hmm,
who
yes.
we are.
Mhm.
Uh, and oftentimes we manage to even dissuade clients from temporary trends on Instagram, right? There
Okay.
was this mannequin challenge was going on. Right now it's vertical reels. And
Uh,
I've seen those trends come and go.
uh-huh.
And until the television in your house is becoming vertical, I do not see the point of shooting your wedding vertically,
Okay.
right? So, because your wedding, if it's being consumed on a phone for 15 seconds,
Hmm.
that is not why you hired a professional. That's where you should hire a good college kid who's fantastic with creating these reels and all.
Uh-huh.
You want
Yeah.
you wanting something deeper is where you hire a professional, and a professional will shoot, as they say, cinema. Cinema is story.
Yeah.
Story needs seen on a different medium.
Mhm.
So we try and avoid those conflicts before we enter the assignment.
Mhm.
In terms of commercial standing, right? He is doing this. I'll give you the assignment if you also give me
Yeah.
this.
Yes.
We have to maintain that competitive edge. I would be lying if I said that I'm not watching my competitors' Instagram day in and day out. But I'm doing that to get inspired, largely. I love to see a competitor pushing the boundary because then I have a challenge to wake up to the next day.
Yeah, that answers the question. This is more from a personal point of view again. So I was reading one of your interviews. I think it was published during COVID. So where you talked about you were an MBA grad and then you moved into photography. It kind of happened organically for you. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I think at somewhere we all have some voids that we try to fulfill by setting some values. So, can you think, do you have a void that you try to fulfill by getting into photography or a creative field? As a child or as a teenager, you missed out on something and you're like, photography is really going to fulfill that.
Yeah. The void, I think, and it's a lifestyle for me. It's not just a career choice, it's a lifestyle. The void in me is um exploring outside of the norms that have been passed on to us as value system.
Yeah.
For example, when you are right around 8th, 9th standard, you are told that go do well in your board exams. And then, the whole cycle that follows. So you learn, and I'm not saying it doesn't come to use. I still feel there are times when in integral calculus, at least the know-how of integral calculus, I feel smart knowing that and I can solve some problems, etc. But what we are not encouraged is to go out and explore something that is not on this route. Even today, as my son grows older, I'm kind of worried that who are the people or how does he find out alternative paths in life?
Yeah.
So my void was that growing up in Rajasthan in a middle class family and sadly being decent in studies, there was never, we never saw the crossroads where we could take different directions. It was
Yeah.
just always a straight path. And that void was really filled well with photography because there was no defined path. When I picked up photography as a skill, very, very few schools in the world, or actually almost none in India, no idea of how this is going to be commercially playing out as a career choice. No idea of the social stigma attached to it. So you just got baptized by fire. And वो अभी भी चल रहा है. So there are times when I'll pick up a new activity like solving a Rubik's Cube. Just learn it for the heck of it. And I learned it. And it's fun. It's just so much fun not following a path and learning something new.
That's true creativity, exploration of the unknown and the known.
Yeah.
Um, Two very easy, light questions. How do you unwind after a hectic day?
Consume a lot of content. But this is mostly non-fiction. Some of my favorite topics are geography, world history. So I consume content on that. Makes me feel nice. Or take up a quiz somewhere, something like that. Sports is another big uh, love of life. I'm on some kind of a sports court 5 days out of 7 in a week.
Wow, that's impressive.
And my kids, my wife, those are between that is my entire world. I guess I won't call it unwinding. I'll just call it a routine. It's I never I've lost track of when last I just threw my hands up in the air, packed my bags, and said, I'm going off for this, and I need this detox or unwind.
No,
Not really, never.
you're living your, as people say, should live your vacation, live every day as if you're on vacation. Your life should be so fulfilling. So probably that's your case there.
That's a great thought. I will use that.
One food related pet peeve, something that everyone likes, but you can't put your head around it, or something that you absolutely love, and others are like, oh, how could you?
Something which everyone's likes, but I can't. Something that everyone likes, but I can't. I don't. I don't end up
Yeah.
eating it. Sweets of any kind, my sugar consumption is near zero through the month, through the year.
You need to get an
Um,
award just for that.
and that too being in the wedding profession.
Yes. How do
So,
you resist? You're from Rajasthan, right?
and that too from being a Maru, right? So, I don't know, somewhere my mom was a sportsman, so we never had that culture of binge eating sweets in our house.
Mm.
And if by mistake on Diwali somebody gives us, half a kg of some mithai or a laddu, we are just looking to pass it around because we know it won't ever get finished even in 1 year at our house, and that's half a kg of laddu. Uh, my two boys, they love eating, so now we have at least some customers in the house for sweet. But I've never gotten around sweets, so
Last question. I know we talked about gadgets and you want to shoot something on your phone, but when it comes to aerial or land photography, which gadgets or which model of camera or drone is your current favorite, or you think does justice to what you want to achieve?
I'm a Canon ambassador in India,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. Okay, so
I
you.
absolutely love Canon. I was with another company before this, but I actually switched to Canon because I genuinely feel they've gotten a lot of things right. When it comes to drone, I have been using DJI products for a very, very long time. It's a Chinese company that makes drones. Um, I I think the first drone I used was probably like ooh, 10 years ago, close to that, 2015, for sure 10 years ago, maybe a little more than that. Um, and it's so interesting to see this new tech develop because cameras have been around for 50, 60, 70 years. Drone as a concept, forget the camera, just drone as a concept has been probably the last decade or 15 years a story. It's so amazing to see what it gives your thoughts and imagination wings to fly quite literally. So I'm big on all kind of tech like this, and we have used some really quirky tech in weddings, which you would not expect to see in weddings. There is in Grammys and in what's the other one? Oscars, you get this uh, super slow motion red carpet
Yeah,
shots, where this
yeah.
so it's actually done using a robot camera, which basically is like a crane with an extended arm. It moves really fast, and the camera itself is a film grade camera, which can shoot 1,000 frames per second, and it has to be lit very, very differently. All that jazz. We actually did that in Sangeets. So
Oh, wow. That's a whole new
next to
setup.
the dance, yeah, yeah, next to the dance floor, it's a 20 feet setup.
Wow.
It's like being on a film set, and it is mind blowing. In your Sangeet, you and your drunk friends are going all Hollywood, and you're getting to see the results, getting to take that clip back home. That's what we do.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I've only seen it on the red carpet where people just like pose and the slow motion movement of gown. But Sangeet sounds fun. Well, thank you so much for your time. And I'm like, this is a true honor. You giving me your time and you're so busy and with all the big
Anyway,
awards and all.
cheers, cheers. You have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.